Hello, thanks for joining us. So what we're going to build this week is a SHA1 file checker. So basically what is SHA1 is it's the hash of a file basically. So whenever you download a Windows ISO or a Android ROM or stuff like that, they usually come with that number, pre-generated number that they provide you, so that whenever you download it, you can then check against that number too. Check your files so you make sure you don't have a corrupted download, or you're not going to flash something corrupted onto your phone, or install Windows with bad files, which is probably just going to throw errors while it's installing. But might as well just save you the time and the hassle of having to re-download and re-burn or whatever, flash your USB drive. Alright, so in the first tutorial we built the hello world. So we're just going to reuse the same code we did the last time. So we're just going to modify portions of it so that we don't have to start from scratch. If you're looking for the original code, I'm going to put it in the description below, and then you can also start from there if you want to follow. So what we're going to do is we're just going to change the size of that first of all, and we're going to put that at 576,208. So that's going to be big enough to fit everything we need. Change that to false. Change that to true. Minimize box and topmost, false and true. We're gonna change the name of it. So SHA1 hash checker. All right. All right. And now let's work with our controls here. So I'm just gonna give you a little trick. Instead of always using size, let's say you have more than one control with label and you want them all to be of the same size, you just create a label variable called label size, let's say random name, whatever you want, and you just replace that here. So whenever you create a label, just put size equals whatever you already created, and then you don't have to redo the work of calculating, I guess, whatever size it should be, even if you're probably just copy pasting from one label to the other. But still, I guess it makes it look nicer. And you can also do the same for text align. So label text align middle right this time, middle right, put that here. We're gonna call this one file to open, or file to hash would be more appropriate. Change that first label to open file. Boom. We're also going to use, I'm going to create another variable called y, and this one is going to be how far below it is from the top of the window. So basically just change this for all of the elements that are going to be on the same line. You put y, and then at the end of that code, of that chunk of code, you could create a new variable called y spacer 32. So here you would put y plus equal y spacer, and there you go. So now every time y is going to be called again, then it's already going to be added with 32 pixels. All right, so y is here. Button, we're going to do the same thing for button here. So button size here. Location, location should be a bit more on the right. So since it's 576, we're going to put it here. And this is going to need to be 96 by 23. So it's not too big. We need it to be just normal size, right? We don't need to text align on that. The text is going to be browse, because whenever we're going to click on that button, what it's going to do is it's going to ask us which file we want to open, pretty much in the same fashion as in whenever you click open here and you get files you can browse to. So we're going to recreate that same window. It's already pre-built inside of Windows, so you don't really need to do some actual real work here to get it going. And between the two here, we're going to add a text box, which we've never used before so far. So open file equals new object of the type System.Windows.Forms.textbox. All right. Now text box is going to be used again. Text box open file dot location location equals this, but it needs to be a bit more on the right. So this one is going to be at 192 pixels from the left border of the window, and still with Y. Change this here size, button size. Oh, that's not a button, that's a text box. So let's copy that, change the name of it, text box size, and the size of it is going to be 240 by 20. Text box size. Oops, where's my $sign? And what else do we need? I think, well, for this, we don't need much, because it's just going to hold the name of the file that we decided to open with the what we're going to create now, the open file dialog. Hello world text box. This, we're going to rename that to open file. I can also do just the find and replace, but I think it would have taken me more time just to do that. And we're going to create a function called openFile. So in one of my previous videos, I said no real reason why functions should be at the beginning of your code. And after I rewatched my video, I realized that I made a mistake by not telling you the right thing. So basically, the reason why your functions need to be created at the top of your code is because it needs to be created, it needs to be available to the button that's then going to call it here. So I could also just create my function here, but I mean, that would not look really nice, or just here. So I'm just going to put all of my functions at the beginning of my my code. So this way you can just go see all of your functions at the top there. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to create an open file dialog. So pretty much in the same fashion as we did here, new object System.Windows.Forms, Forms.open file dialog, and we're gonna add a filter to it. Open file dialog.filter. So basically, filter is what you see here. So you could create like a whole bunch of different file types you want to add, but in this case we're just going to add one, and this one is pretty easy and it's all files. So pretty much star.star, all files. Boop. Oops, how did I do that? Stoop, boop. I need to relearn how to use a keyboard now. So all right. And so yeah, the filter. And now we want it to, if the open file dialog dot show dialog equals OK. So if we click open instead of cancel on the open file dialog, we want it to then populate our text box open file dot text with what we selected in the open file dialog. So file name. and that's it. So I can show you that now. Oh, that doesn't look too nice. So what's wrong with this, huh? They're overlaid. So open file, the location, size. So that looks fine. The label size, oh, maybe 240 is too big. Maybe that's where I made a mistake. So label size should be a bit smaller, like 168, and now it looks perfect. Browse, open a file, there you go. Name of it is there. Boom. Text align. Middle right. It didn't look okay here. I'm not sure what I did wrong. It doesn't look like it's aligned in the middle right. Maybe 32 is too high. Yeah, it should be just 20 like the text box, so that's why. Oh, there you go. Now it's much more aligned. Okay, all right, let's continue. So I'm just gonna reuse that same bunch of code here, and I'm gonna use that as generated SHA1. Rated SHA1. Text box, yes. We don't need a button for this one to work. Well, I could keep this one. I'm just gonna call it generate SHA1 and text box. Just going to rename it to the same I have already used for the first label. So then, you know, whenever you look at your code, I guess you know that, oh, that's A. Should be A. And this here. So whenever you look at your code, sorry for the interruption, you then know that this all belongs to the same function or utility. And get SHA1, generate SHA1, button size, blah, blah, blah. So you see here I used the Y spacer. So now Y should be 32 below, 32 pixels below. Then you see that it is 32 pixels below. It's a bit too, maybe too close. We'll try and see if we can fix that. Did I type in 32? Yeah, Y spacer. Here, oops. That's a bit close, but hey, as long as it works, right? Or maybe I could set it to 48. Ah, there you go. It's much more spaced out now. So we're going to need to create a function for this. So whenever we click the button, it generates that code, that hash, I should say. So we're going to create the function called get SHA1. Doop. So what we'll use, once again, we're just going to reuse functions that are already within Windows. So those hasher are already part of the whole Windows ecosystem. So we don't need to create the function or the programming of that utility. So what we want to do is this. If the text of our open file is not equal empty, then we can proceed. Because if you click generate SHA1 and there's nothing in your open file, then it's most likely just going to give you errors, or it's just not going to do anything. So you need to that's pretty much like error checking, like dump proofing your application, so you just don't click on it and then generate errors for nothing. So then once we've verified that there's something in open file, we are just going to, I was just verifying if I was still recording, because sometimes I start talking and don't record. So we're going to create, I'm going to space that out a bit, create the object which is going to contain the method for us to be able to hash our files. So system.security.crypto.SHA1 crypto service provider. All right, so we got that. We're going to open a stream. A stream is, instead of opening a file and putting it into memory, we're just going to stream the file to the program. And this way, let's say you're opening a file that is 4 gigs. Well, you don't want to take 4 gigs of memory, of RAM, just to hash your file. That would be, if you have a low memory system, then that could be an issue and it could slow down your whole system. So we're not going to do that. Instead we're going to use the stream function of Windows that allows us to then just read and hash at the same time. All right, so we're going to open the file. So here we see that for this to work, we need the path, we need what file mode, and what file access, path, file mode, and file access. So the path is whatever we have inside of textbox openfile.text. The read mode, the file access, what is it again? Let's see again. File mode. All right, well, we want to open system.io.file mode, which is exactly what they were asking of us. Open, and then what we want it just to be read only, so we don't lock the file while we're doing that. We don't need to be able to write to it. File access. Read. All right, and now we're gonna use our hash function to then create the hash of the file. So system.bitConverter, which is a class, to string. So we're converting the output of our hash to string, because sometimes not single. Sometimes, let's say that property of the text box is only accepting string values and not integers or whatever else. So we need to make sure that we convert it to a string before we feed it to the text box. So compute hash, and then we're going to compute hash from the stream we've opened. So this is going to generate the hash, which we're then going to put inside of, not this one, textbox, open file, generated SHA1.text equals hash. Let's give that a try. Browse, generate it, get a nice hash. My text box is maybe just a bit too small. All right, so at least now we see that it works, so that's nice. So now we can just play around, I guess, with the location of our stuff. So I'm gonna move that button a bit further down. So here it's gonna be on the next line below. It should be on the next line below. Button. Yes, yes. All right. Button, text box, label. it's staying there. Oh, I think I know what's happening. All right, it's because we're using equal plus instead of, we were using this instead of this. So we were adding this to this instead of adding this to this. So we were adding y to spacer instead of spacer to y. So that's why it wasn't working as I wanted it to. 32. There you go. So now it's on the second line after it. If we want it to be even further down, you could just repeat that twice, like this, and then it's even further down. So what I'm going to add now is another text box, and this one is going to contain what we're expecting the hash to be. So that's helpful. Let's say you download the file, like I said, and they're providing you with the hash. You could just paste it in there, and then you would be able to just look at it and see if they match. So now I'm just going to change the size of our text box here. So from now on, we're going to want our text boxes to be a bit wider. So let's say 350, and reuse that here. Expected. Yeah, it looks right. I don't think I got a spelling mistake in there. Maybe I do. Expected SHA1 here. Boink, 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 boink. All right. So now we just need to change the text, and that's all nicely aligned. So we just need to change expected. I don't know why it doesn't look right, but I think I spelled it right. And here we're going to change the type of text box to masked text box. So what we're why we're doing that is because usually when they provide you with a SHA1 number, they don't give you it doesn't put it in the same way that they did here with the dashes between all of every two characters. So we're gonna create a mask of 32 times A. So A. So that's 32 A's with 15 dashes in between. So now if we run that, we'll see that it's already, so if I start typing in here, it's pre-adding the dashes. And that's what we need, or we want, because that's the output of the other one, so we want it to match. All right. So let's say I downloaded the file and I got the hash from it. So I downloaded this lineage build for the Shield tablet. So I'm going to generate its SHA1, and here I got from the website their SHA1. So I'm just going to paste it here. All right, so we see that it doesn't match. This one is a bit longer. 74. Does it stop at 74? That's what they generated, and that's what we have. So how long is this? We're gonna check this out right now. Let's go back to PowerShell. Oh, close our window here. Okay. How long is that? Dot length 40. Oh, so I need to add 8 more A's in there. Boop. A. There you go. So now my camera is going to shut down and I'm going to restart it. And there we go. So now you can see my face for 5 more minutes. Okay, so boom, hash a file, generate SHA1, and then I'm copying the information from here to here and we see that it matches. The case is not the same, but at least you see that it is the same if you read it. B0 2C, yeah, it's exactly the same. So we know that the file I downloaded is the same one, is of this same integrity as it was on the server that I downloaded it from. So now I'm just going to minimize this. We could add like extra stuff of the type, like if they match, the text box goes green, or it gives you a pop-up saying error message, or like a message box that tells you if they match or not. But that wouldn't be necessary. I can always show you that in another video, how to format your text box. But that's all for now. So hopefully this tool is going to be of some use to you if you download files often that need to be verified, or you want them to be verified. Like I said, that's useful whenever you flash ROMs, like the example I just provided here. The ROM for the Shield tablet it gives you that string value here that you want to check against, just to be sure that you're not downloading or flashing a file that's broken. And that's it. So I'm going to post the start code and the end code at the bottom of my at the description, in the description of my video, and hopefully this is of some use to you, like I said. And see you next time. See you in the next video. See ya.